Let's bring in our panel. U.S. Navy Reserve Captain, former National Security Advisor to Senator Tuberville, and former Press Secretary for the U.S. Secretary of Defense, Morgan Murphy, along with former Vice Chair of the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom and founder of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy, Dr. Zuhdi Jasser. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining this evening. You know, initial assessments indicate the strike was a success, taking out multiple ISIS terrorists. Captain Murphy, from a military perspective, what's your read on President Trump's action?
Well, it showed strong, decisive leadership, and the United States Department of War can reach deep into the heart of Africa and strike any target of our choosing at any time. And hats off to the U.S. Navy, hats off to our sailors aboard ships there in the Atlantic, striking those targets deep in Africa. It was a powerful, powerful show of American force here on Christmas.
Yeah, it was definitely a very powerful and necessary show of force, I believe. Dr. Jasser, how do you think these strikes support the cause of the international religious freedom movement? What message does it send to oppressors?
Yeah, you know, I was on the U.S. Commission from 2012 to 16, and Nigeria has been on the list of CPCs, which we say countries of particular concern, which are just the worst actors in the planet when it comes to religious freedom. And we've always known that the Christian community has been under siege, and the Obama administration at the time didn't really want to do much. And now we finally have a president in that really is putting into play what we call the over-the-horizon strategy, which is to surgically target militants as they appear. And in Northwest, remember, in Nigeria, the problem primarily is Boko Haram, a tribal Islamist jihadist sect. ISIS now is looking for a place to reaccumulate itself, and it's planting itself in northwestern Nigeria. And this wasn't a foreign invasion for them. Nigerian government actually said, okay, yes, go ahead. My understanding is that we had their permission. So this served multiple benefits. First and foremost is to protect the Christian community, not only in this Christmas holiday, but to finally send a message to the jihadists that they will pay a price for targeting Christians, and then also to send ISIS a regional message that they're not going to be able to get foothold in countries that might just be the lowest hanging fruit for jihadism.
Yeah, it definitely sent multiple messages, very necessarily sent. You know, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he is sounding the alarm on Iran's escalating nuclear ambitions. He says their concerns have only grown sharper in recent weeks. On Monday, he will brief President Trump on a potential plan to strike back. Captain Murphy, what are you hearing about this?
Well, I think it's unwise. The Iranians just don't seem to get the message there. President Trump has been so very clear. He's been the clearest commander-in-chief since Roosevelt in saying what the end state is going to be. And he said very clearly that Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. What's it going to take to convince them? Another bunker buster, it sounds like.
Yeah, I don't know that they got the message the first time, since this is the direction they're heading now. You know, Netanyahu's office just posted this AI-generated video of the Prime Minister and President Trump flying one of his B-2 fighter jets. The caption read, "On our victory lap, hashtag 6 months." Dr. Jasser, do you foresee President Trump agreeing with Bibi's plan of action against Iran?
Well, I absolutely believe that President Trump, just like Prime Minister Netanyahu, will not allow Iran even to come close to any type of nuclear armamentation. I do think that part of their verbiage lately, again, shows that across Iran they have multiple demonstrations and other threats to their domestic power, which I think has been the greatest anti-nuclear program, is to allow, whether it's the women's movements, the reformist movements, the anti-clerical movements, the anti-jihadists, that really don't want any more of this theocracy. So ultimately, peace through strength will come when we continue, just as we did earlier this year with the bunker busters, etc. And then finally, Assad fell. So as a result, Iran is weaker than it's ever been. And this is a lot of just sort of, you know, foreign exposure so that they can try to ignore what's happening domestically in Iran.
It's going to be very interesting to see what transpires from all of this. And I want to hear from both of you on this one. Ukraine's President Zelensky announced a Sunday meeting with President Trump at Mar-a-Lago to advance a nearly complete 20-point peace plan hammered out over recent weeks. Certain areas remain unresolved, though. like the length of U.S. commitments and the fate of Russian-held areas like Donetsk. Excuse me. And how do you see this playing out, Captain Murphy? First.
Well, I think it's good progress, and the administration has shown consistent, steady progress in Ukraine. As you know, I worked for Special Envoy Keith Kellogg, a remarkable man, and saw Steve Witkoff close up and in action at the White House with Jared Kushner. Those two have brought remarkable peace to the Middle East, and I expect that they're going to do the same in this, the bloodiest war in Europe since 1945. Russia's lost 600,000 people in this war. As my former boss, Keith Kellogg, would say, Ukraine's not going to be able to kill its way out of this conflict. So peace is their best option. And as soon as peace happens, Trump envisions a remarkable world effort to rebuild Ukraine into a nation that is prosperous and free and independent. So they're working out what I hope is the last bits of these terms before they take it again to Putin in the negotiation table.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see. We all want, I think, peace over there in that region. I think we want peace everywhere. Dr. Jasser, what are your thoughts?
I think similarly, the Trump administration has demonstrated significant tenacity, persistent patience in a way that has really given the world a sense that this might come to a conclusion finally, because it's not going to be done briefly, and I think ultimately that persistence, whether it's through economic cooperation or other areas, that once Europe has more skin in the game, which they have had, there will be a light at the end of that tunnel. And again, the right people are there. They've gotten peace in the Middle East. They're continuing to push forward for peace to end this war between Russia and Ukraine. And I think all the pieces are in place for that to happen, hopefully into early 26.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think we all want to see as well. Captain Murphy, final question for you, and I'll have one more for you, Dr. Jasser. As far as this Christmas season goes and where our country, where we're at right now currently, especially after the last administration, how confident are you that we're going to continue to see the kind of progressions positively, economically, and even globally with what we've seen so far from President Trump? If you were to grade him on an A to F, what would you say he's done so far in his short 11 months?
I'm biased. I worked for President Trump here and left a couple months ago to run for Senate down in Alabama. But I think President Trump has shown the remarkable leadership of tenacity. The man has just shown that empiricism works. He does what works. So whether it's the economy that's now running at great guns at 4% or greater, inflation is down, our military recruiting is back. Don't underestimate that. We lost 2 whole divisions under President Biden. People just checked out of the military entirely, and that's the backbone of our country. And now you see the president standing up for Christian values around the world. It's a man who shows strength and who shows character in the White House, and that gets an A+ in my book.
And Dr. Jasser, to you, about 20 seconds. How thankful are you that it's not Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in the Oval Office right now?
I am thanking God every day, like every American should be. He gets an A. We have now a doctrine that's clear, which is not only in this hemisphere as we see the Venezuelan dictator on his heels, but across the planet. There is now a peace through strength doctrine that is clear going into 26, and America is to be reckoned with. Thank you to President Trump and his leadership.
Absolutely. Well, thank you both, Captain Morgan Murphy and Dr. Zuhdi Jasser. God bless you. Have a great rest of your evening.
God bless you.
God bless you too.